kiss at Sunset Ridge. The sun bled gold across the grasslands as Clara Bennett reined in her horse atop Sunset Ridge. She came here when the world felt too loud, when memories of a broken engagement and a failed homestead pressed too close. Below, the prairie stretched endless and quiet, asking nothing of her. She didn't expect to find someone already there. Luke Calder stood near the ridge fence, hat low, silhouette cut sharp against the sky. A rancher known more for keeping to himself than for conversation. He turned at the sound of hooves, surprise flickering across his steady gaze. Their talk was careful at first: weather, cattle, the coming winter, but the ridge had a way of loosening truths. Luke spoke of the land he'd fought to keep after his brothers left. Clara admitted she was tired of running from places that reminded her she once believed in forever. The sun dipped lower. Neither of them moved to leave. Wind brushed Clara's hair loose from its pin. Luke reached out before thinking, fingers pausing a breath away. She nodded just one sand. The touch landed gentle, reverent, as if he understood how easily trust could shatter. In that quiet, the space between them felt charged, humming with all the things they hadn't said. The sky burned orange and rose. Luke stepped closer. "I don't make promises lightly," he said, voice rough. "But I'd like to try with you." Clara searched his face, finding no bravado, their only truth. She answered by closing the distance herself. Their kiss was slow, unhurried, carrying the weight of endings and beginnings. Below them, the prairie darkened into night, but on Sunset Ridge, something bright took hold, steady, patient, real. And as the last light faded, Clara knew this was the kind of love that stayed. If you'd like, I can expand this into a 10 to 15 chapter novella. Add a wedding or epilogue, or make it more cinematic and emotional like your other Western romances. Dawn found Sunset Ridge softened by pale gold, the prairie waking slow and quiet. Clara returned alone, the memory of the kiss lingering like warmth against the chill. She told herself it had been a moment only, but her heart argued otherwise. At the ranch below, Luke was already at work, steady as the land itself, yet his thoughts strayed upward to the ridge and the promise he dared to speak. When their eyes met later by the corral, there was no awkwardness, only recognition. Something had shifted. Neither named it, but both felt its pull. A late storm rolled in, hard and sudden, testing fences and nerves. Luke rode out before dawn. Clara followed, despite his protest, proving she wasn't made of fragile hopes anymore. Together, they worked through wind and rain, hands brushing, trust forged in effort rather than words. By nightfall, soaked and exhausted, they laughed beneath the barn's shelter. It felt dangerous how easily joy came when shared. News arrived with the mail. Clara's former fiancé was passing through the territory, looking to settle old matters. The letter shook her resolve, dredging up doubts she thought long buried. Luke noticed the change immediately, the distance, the careful smile. He didn't press. Instead, he invited her to ride with him at dusk, letting the land speak where words might fail. They reached Sunset Ridge as the sky deepened to violet. Clara told him everything. Then the broken promises, the fear of choosing wrong again. Luke listened without interruption, his presence solid as the fence at their backs. "I won't ask you to stay," he said quietly, "but if you do, it won't be halfway." Clara looked out over the prairie she'd learned to love, and at the man who had met her honestly, without spectacle. She took his hand. "I choose this," she said. "I choose you." The kiss they shared this time carried certainty, no longer a question, but an answer. Below them, the ranch lights flickered on, small and steadfast against the dark. As stars emerged, one by one, Clara rested her head on Luke's shoulder. Sunset Ridge had given them more than a moment, had given them a beginning rooted in choice, courage, and a love meant to last beneath the endless western sky. Years later, Sunset Ridge looked much the same, wind-worn, wide, and faithful. The prairie still rolled outward like an unbroken promise, and the sky still caught fire every evening, as if it remembered. Clara Calder stood at the ridge fence, one hand resting over the gentle swell of her belly, the other shading her eyes from the sinking sun. Below, the ranch thrived, not grand, not easy, but honest. Laughter drifted up from the yard, where Luke worked with their young son, his voice warm and sure, carrying across the land that had shaped them both. Luke joined her as the light softened, slipping his arm around her waist as naturally as breathing. "Still your favorite place?" he asked. She smiled. "It's where everything became real." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the day surrender to dusk. Life had not been without hardship. There were lean winters, losses that left quiet spaces at the table, fears that returned in unexpected moments. But they had learned that love was not proven in grand vows alone, but in choosing each other again and again, especially when it was hardest. As the sky blushed rose and gold, Luke turned her gently toward him. His kiss was familiar, now steady. Sure, but it still carried the echo of that first evening, when two guarded hearts had dared to hope. Below them, the prairie darkened, stars beginning their slow bloom, and on Sunset Ridge, where endings once lived, the light remained held fast by a love that had learned how to stay. Like and subscribe. Aurora Tale Wild West. God bless.